Hey guys, this is Raz and Cuban. Have a replay against Zeus mid, Luna carry, a little bit of a comeback. I would say that Tide Hunter actually is the reason we won this game. He had some really good ravages and bought a pipe, which was really good against Luna's ult and obviously Zeus's spells. But still, this did afford me the opportunity to carry because I knew at draft that Phantom Assassin was going to get destroyed in the early game. And that's exactly what happened. Phantom Assassin's a really poor pick against this team. Zeus can nuke down a Phantom Assassin really, really quickly. And anyway, a good Dragon Knight game though. Zeus in lane I think is very easy unless you just play very poorly. As long as you make sure you have sufficient regen, there's very low chance that he's going to be able to nuke you down, especially once you get raindrops, which I don't even think I got raindrops this game. In fact, raindrops raindrops get burned really easily from Zeus's Q, so I would probably, if you decide you need raindrops, I'd recommend getting them after lane once team fights are going to start happening, rather than in lane when he's just going to burn them constantly with his Q. So anyway, what we're going to rely on instead is the magic stick, and I have this observer ward because I want to be able to see Zeus. I want him to remain visible. If he's not visible and he's using his Q from the high ground in darkness, which would be the case here, if I didn't have the ward up, then my magic stick would gain no charges. So that's why I put that there, and obviously is a bit of a risk because Zeus can de-ward pretty easily, and unfortunately when he does finally discover it using his W, he has a tango remaining with which he can eat it very quickly. So that was unfortunate. Let's see. So as far as the other matchups, Luna I think can go either way. Her ult can be problematic if you're right in the middle of the fight and get caught out or something and you don't have your BKB yet. But otherwise she's mostly physical damage, so that's okay for us. Monkey King is mostly physical damage, although in the early game he counters, I would say, most melee heroes, but melee heroes. But he's not laning against me, so that's a problem. Monkey King mid actually is a little bit challenging for a DK. Oh, I should also note that I wasn't absolutely certain that Zeus was going mid. I just assumed he was, and that's why I bought the magic stick. So it was a little bit of a gamble there. Otherwise, I would have gone the Gauntlets of Strength. You see there, he used his W and then had, oh, actually he still had two of those left. So yeah, that was unfortunate, but bound to happen eventually. So last hits wise in lane, I think we come out about even, and that's pretty typical for the matchup with Zeus. You really can't stop him from last hitting very easily, and he can't stop you from last hitting with his Q. He's just not going to be able to deny enough with his right click. And also try to stack the Ancients a few times. I think I get the top one over here triple stacked. Farm that later once I hit level 12 and have splash damage on my ultimate. Anyway, so lanes are going okay. I know that Tide does decently bottom. I didn't really understand the Naga pick. That was definitely... I'm not a fan of Naga in general in most lineups. Maybe in certain push lineups, but in this lineup in particular, I just didn't really feel there was a need, and she actually does mess up one of our fights later on. She uses her ult basically right when I go on the enemy with BKB and have them in a good position to fight them. But anyway, Let's see, moving on. Dragon Knight's good against Silencer. You can usually last through the silence, and it's not really a problem. His Arcane Curse can cause you to be kited more easily, which can be a little bit of a problem, but as far as ganking goes, their Silencer comes mid for a gank or whatever, and they get me to half health or something. So definitely a failed gank. There's just not much concern in this lane regarding getting killed. So I know that unless I play really sloppy, there's just no chance that I'm going to die. So I'm just going to play really aggressively, pressure the tower with a catapult wave, which is what you want. That's your ideal situation, where you hit level 6 right when the catapult gets to the lane, and then you can get a lot of damage in. And if things go really well, you can even tank the wave long enough for the second wave to come through, and that way you can get a full tower by 7 minutes. But in this case, Zeus has too much nuke potential. He could have killed me with 2 more lightning bolts if I was playing sloppy. So anyway, I go and heal up and get my boots. So I didn't have dragon form there for that to be a successful gank. And if you're ever supporting a Dragon Knight, you should see whether they have dragon form. You should also see whether they have their stun, because a lot of times a Dragon Knight does not even want to get stun until level 7 or something like that. So if you gank, I've actually got flamed many times by supports or roamers. Like I got flamed by, it was actually on this account, by a Pudge who I was level 3, he was level 2. He came by, and we would have killed the enemy if I had my stun, but there's no reason why you want to have your stun. It was against a ranged hero. I don't even remember what ranged hero it was. Oh, actually, before I get too far with that story, I want to go back. So Silencer and Zeus. So Silencer did some damage to me. Zeus is trying to get me down low. I have magic wand, so I'm not worried about it. I saw Monkey King over here, and so I know that he's going to jump out here, and so I'm ready with my stun, and his stun, his boundless strike, is very easy to predict, so just had to sidestep that. I assume that would have killed me if I had not moved out of the way or gotten me extremely low. But anyway, so Luna is pushing bottom, and I'm going to TP bottom now because mid is really pushed in. So if the wave was back here, I would have gone mid and just kept farming, but I decide that it's too risky to go and try to take the tier 2. Again, between Arcane Curse and Monkey King's stun, Zeus's magic damage, just way too dangerous. So in a lot of games you'll see me pushing that tier 2, but I decide against it, and I decide to go to the off lane with Tide because I know that lane's going well. I figure it'll be an easy tower. Luna escaped the Ravage there because she happened to have the haste rune, which was pretty lucky, I would say. So anyway, we take this tower easy. And I'm working on getting my Armlet now. So Dragon Form's up, so there's no point in me going top. I don't want to fight anymore. I'm just going to go farm. I am not keeping my... notice I'm not keeping my Helm of the Iron Will in one of my slots because it doesn't help me farm faster. I don't need the extra armor to farm. So I'm just keeping it ready. It's one of the... In fact, it's... Yeah, the largest item that belongs to Armlet that you can still buy at the shop since you can't buy the recipe or Blades of Attack. So I'm going to go in here, and I figure that's going to draw attention, and it does. There's Silencer and Zeus. So creating a little bit of space, that's good. Zeus not coming even close to nuking me down. I'm almost level 10, and when I get level 10, I'm going to go the Breathe Fire Reduction talent instead of the Mana Regen talent. The reason being their team has lots of right click. The Breathe Fire Reduction talent's going to be good against basically everyone except Zeus. So very strong against Luna until she gets BKB, very strong against Monkey King. So I decided to pop my dragon form there, not out of necessity, but because I want to really pressure Luna and let her know, I'm ready to fight. If she wants to go up against me, I'm ready for that. And in a moment I will bait out her ult. So mid, nothing's really... It looks like something might transpire, but I'm not certain yet, so I'm just going to keep pushing out bottom, keep shoving in the waves. It's very important. Luna miscalculated, thinks she can ult me. Even if she had hit me with all of her beams, I'm not certain I would have died there. So I decided to come mid now that Dragon Form is up. And keep working on the Armlet. I think Tide Ravages here, yep, so good 3-man Ravage. And we get Zeus here. So I have the Armlet coming and Dragon Form is up, so I'm going to go take those stacks. Now let's put the Quelling Blade back in. That does work on Ancients, so you want to have that Quelling Blade. That's going to make a big difference. Farm that triple stack, farm a few more neutral camps, and I got the Armlet 14, almost 15 minutes, so that was okay. That was not great, but it was pretty good. A lot of my other replays I'm able to get it at 13 minutes, which is real good. Okay, so Luna is doing what she should do, which is, not only farming hard, but really shoving in the lanes, and eventually she's going to do a lot of damage to our tier 3 because we're all taking a fight top. So she played well as far as prioritizing pushing the lane. She didn't just AFK jungle, which is a important strategy if you're a carry. Don't just sit in the jungle and farm when you could be pushing in the lanes. So I tried to get the Breathe Fire off on Luna. I don't know if I succeeded there, but I'm trying to Breathe Fire Luna at the start of every fight, because if she gets Breathe Fired and her damage is reduced by 45%, then like right there, if she goes on us right now, she's going to be doing very little damage, and it lasts 11 seconds, so that can be a very important portion of the team fight. And so anyway, they get split up. They lift me, which that might have actually saved me, because I don't know what... Yeah, I don't know what Luna's doing. Luna decided not to go in there. Yeah, I don't think that was the right choice on her part. I think she could have killed me. But anyway, I'm able to kill Zeus there. We kill Brew. And I get level 15. So level 15 by 20 minutes, that's okay, not great. I almost have BKB. I'm going to get the damage talent, of course. I basically never get the health talent. If I played off lane DK and was playing a utility role or something like that, I might be able to justify it, but Dragon Knight really needs damage bad, so would not ever default to that. Okay, so Luna's level 15 as well. She's going to get a damage talent, which is good for us, because again, we're just going to reduce that. And get a buyback from Phantom Assassin. So notice that we are in his ult. I'm tanking it. It's not really that much of a problem because it's physical damage, and during this time Luna is ratting, so that was smart on her part. We finally noticed that and use the glyph and TPN. She escapes. So I have my BKB now. And if I remember correctly, Luna gets another quite lucky haste rune and just runs up and gets the last click necessary on that tower. She wastes her manta there. I have no idea why she did that. There was no reason for that. She wastes her ult because Tide has a pipe, so there's no way she's going to kill him. And yeah, those one good play on her part followed by really bad play. She should have just TP'd out. Okay. And Phantom Assassin is starting to become relevant. He was 2-6, I think, at one point, or 2-5. So he had a very rough early game. Got nuked down by Zeus and the others on a few occasions. So that's exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting to be the carry this game until he could come online. So right here, that was a huge mistake on her part. She saw me BKB and turn, and then she sirens, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, if I BKB and turn, that means I'm going in. And granted, Tide does not have Ravage, but he can still tank quite a bit. She can use nets and whatnot, and PA was a full health. So I feel like that was a pretty big mistake on her part, and now when the siren wears off, my BKB is also worn off, and I get nuked down. So that was frustrating, to say the least. The game probably could have been 10 or 15 minutes shorter if it were not for that. I mean, granted, I'm assuming we would have won that team fight, but maybe I'm being naive because they were still full health. So anyway, what happened, and now they're going to basically get the tier 2, and that's it. Not very impressive. They decide to keep pushing, which is really strange. So maybe it's because she had her ult up, she was feeling confident, but he just pipes right away, and they don't really have a way to stun him a long time. And now I'm doing, I mean, that was like what was that? That was like is that a 4-man breathe fire? Okay, so notice I move back, and well, those 3. I get a 3-man breathe fire. So even if they weren't already hardly any health, if they had turned and fought, I mean, I've reduced so much damage that they're not going to hurt us. So anyway, that was a complete disaster for them. I do decide at this point though that I need better initiation, so I'm going to go Blink Dagger. And let's see what is on the courier. Okay. So yeah, I think in a bit here I buy my Blink Dagger and then try to bring it out, and then Phantom Assassin takes it in. So yeah, right there. That was just infuriating. He or whoever, she cancels the courier or prevents the courier from picking up my blink dagger, takes it, and then I don't notice that, unfortunately. So just annoying on his part, really thoughtless on his part, but then also I wasn't paying attention. So anyway, it works out okay because Brew ends up being completely out of position. I BKB and destroy all of his Brewlings with my splash damage. Again, Brewlings have very little armor, so it's quite easy to do. Luna gets the Aegis, but at this point I'm about 99% certain that we're going to win the game. I just feel like, even though I'm not ahead, I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot. So I decided to just walk back and get the Blink Dagger because I don't trust this courier anymore. Now the one problem is that the lanes are really pushed in, so that's something we have to remedy. And let's go back and see the start of that fight. Okay, so the cosmetic's going to be messed up, unfortunately. That was a pretty good Ravage, but since she has Aegis, she's going to come back and kill us. So we do still get Zeus, but I die because I'm just sitting there tanking Silencer and Luna. And she sirens, they get out. So anyway, we had a comeback, now they have a small comeback. And see, at this point you notice that I'm okay, so they stay, they're out of position. They should have left whenever I came back. I want to talk about my next item though, because it's pretty significant. So after the blink, I decided to go Sanj and Yasha. Another item that I considered was Halberd. Those are really the two items I would consider right now. And the reason I would consider them is they're both in the 3,000 to 4,000 gold range, and I'm not in a position I feel, or I should say we're not far enough ahead that I feel comfortable going for a really big item. I want something that's going to be more beneficial right now. It's a really important part of playing Dragon Knight, is not trying to go some huge 5,000 gold item when the game is kind of neck and neck. So basically it was between Halberd and Sanj and Yasha, and the reason Halberd, I thought of Halberd, is that they have a lot of right click and the evasion is going to be really strong, and if I can disarm Luna or Monkey King, then that's going to really help us in the fight, especially Luna since she's ranged and the disarm actually works longer on ranged heroes. The problem with Heaven's Halberd is that the disarm costs 100 mana, and that's quite a bit of mana when you've gotten rid of your magic wand. Because right now I'm basically totally reliant. Oh, and Luna's just completely painfully out of position. That was not the right move on her part. She comes back in and okay, I shouldn't say she was that out. Well, no, she's out of position. She got herself way too low there. She keeps thinking that her ult is gonna just turn these fights around or something, and so she just runs into this Tide Hunter that has a pipe, and I mean she's done the exact same thing 3 or 4 times now, and yeah, just doesn't work out. But anyway, what I was saying is the Heaven's Halberd costs a lot of mana, and since I got the Breathe Fire talent instead of the mana regen talent, I'm totally reliant on the Soul Ring to keep me fueled, and my mana pool is not that big. I mean, I can wipe out my entire mana pool pretty quickly, and since I'm using it to push, I'm already about at half mana. Long story short, I just don't feel real comfortable getting halberd. I'm not amazing with mana management, so it's just safer, I think, to go S and Y. And so yeah, even though halberd might have been technically a little bit better than maybe the superior item, it's really hard to go wrong with Sanjin Yasha. There's basically no game where a Sanjin Yasha is just, useless, worthless, doesn't give you anything. The only mistake you'll ever make with a Sanjin Yasha is getting it instead of a better item that you could have afforded, and maybe you got the Sanjin Yasha in order to say buyback gold though. Because that's one thing. Like maybe you want to get a Bloodthorn, you have the money for a Bloodthorn. Well, you buy the Bloodthorn, you don't have buyback. You buy the Sanjin Yasha, you still have buyback. That's a really contrived example. I don't buy Bloodthorn on DK very much, but I think you get the point. Point is, Sanjin Yasha just gives you options. Jack of all trades item, does lots of things really well. My favorite part is actually the movement speed, hands down. I love that makes you tanky. I love Sanja's effect, but the movement speed is really my favorite part of the item. And Tide gets a really nice 3-person ravage again. BKB's popped, and he tried to ult and did not get it off in time. So notice that I probably could have kept tanking his. No, he was too high in health. He has BKB, so I don't want to be standing in there tanking his ult during that time. So I walk out of the ult. Now I can go back over, and he's rooted from Naga Siren. Alright, so that's basically the game. We will close out of this and take a look at the final scoreboard. So notice I was actually this account's Legend 1 that was actually playing against, even some ancients. And yeah, still very, very easy game. My net worth was substantially higher than our carries, and yeah, I just did quite well. Almost 600 GPM. He did end up doing quite a bit of damage. I did most of the building damage, which is not surprising. So anyway, I think that's everything. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below.